class. Hope everybody had a great weekend. What we're going to talk about today are two short concepts, and one of those is going to be about making nouns plural in Spanish. Last week we talked about the gender of the noun and how many words that end in L, O, N, E, R, or S are often masculine, and then words that end in D, CION, SION, those words are typically feminine. So we're going to jump into it and then also talk about articles. We did a little bit about articles before, but we're going to take it one step further this time. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Okay, so talking about plural nouns. So when you think about a noun, okay, so again, we are not at the level of knowing Spanish and what everything means. Right now, we're just setting the basics to understand some things and how they work. But we have learned a few classroom objects, so I'm going to use some of those to start with. So, as I said, to make a noun plural, if it ends in a vowel, we simply add S to the word. Okay, so let's look at some examples. We could have the word, let's see, bolígrafo. So the word bolígrafo ends in an O, which is a vowel. So instead of saying the pen, el bolígrafo, we can make it plural simply by adding the plural masculine article. And we will change it to los bolígrafos. Okay, los bolígrafos. So we need to put the tilde on the I. Bien. So, el bolígrafo, los bolígrafos. Now, what if it ends in a consonant? So, if the word, so we just need to clean this up a little bit here. So when it ends in a consonant, so if the word ends in a consonant, we add es. Okay, so one of the words that we learned in the last lesson was papel. Papel ends in L, and so what we're going to do is add es. So we could have el papel, the paper, and then to make it plural, los papeles. Okay, so very simple to make nouns plural in Spanish. If it ends in a vowel, we add S, consonant, we add ES. There's just one more little part to this that we need to go over, and that is what if it ends in a Z. So, if the word ends in Z, then we change the Z to C and then add ES. Okay, so let's look at an example of this. El lápiz. Okay, so the pencil, it does end in Z, so we're going to perform that change, Z to C, and then add ES. So we're going from the pencil to the pencils. El lápiz, los lápices. Okay, and that basically sums up how to make a noun plural in Spanish. Remember, so much of what we do in Spanish depends on if the word is singular or plural, or if the word is masculine and feminine. So while the concept is very easy to understand, it's very hard as a non-native speaker when speaking to remember all those things while you're talking. Like looking at something and knowing, is it masculine or is it feminine? You have to think about it. Native speakers don't typically have to do that. They just know because of how they acquired the language. So you can get there too. You just have to have a ton of practice speaking Spanish over and over and over again. So the last thing that we're going to look at is we're going to talk about the articles. So we talked about the article, for example, the, and how the has 4 forms: el, la, los, and las. Okay? So what if we don't want to say the book and we want to say a book? Okay? So we have different types of articles depending on what exactly it is that we want to say. So remember that when we use, I'm just going to make this a little bigger, when we use el, la, los, or las, it means the, and this is what is sometimes referred to as the definite article. Okay? So maybe you want to say, and it's usually for something specific. Okay? So if I say the book, okay, the book can tell you, or if I say the book has a dictionary, if I'm talking about your textbook, then you know what the book is that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about any book out there, but you would know that it's the textbook that we're using. Like the book has a dictionary in the back, the book has some online resources. So that would be more specific using el, la, los, or las, the. However, what if we want to say like if I want to say give me a book. If I say give me a book, that could be any book in the world. I could give you a French book, you could give me a Spanish book, you give me a dictionary, anything. So when we want to say we have 2 forms, un and una. Okay? So like if I say a book, un libro. Okay? Now, if we want to, what if it's plural and we're talking about libros, like I have some books, okay? Then in that case, we would use unos or unas, and that means some, okay? So like I could say, I have some books. We haven't learned this verb yet, but tengo, I have unos libros grandes. I have some big books, all right? Now, if I say, imagine you've not brought your book to class all week and you want to tell me, I brought the book. Tengo el libro. Okay? So today I have it. Today I brought the book. So when you say the book, I know specifically which one you're referring to, and would be just any random book. So I hope that this video has been helpful in helping you to understand articles, review a little bit about the gender of the nouns, and also how to make things plural. Okay, have a great one.